What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. My name's Michael Inman, and I'm an active duty service member in the United States military. Today I'm going to be comparing the movie Oppenheimer, which came out a couple years ago, to the film that came out this year in 2025 called House of Dynamite on Netflix. Both were really great films. I will tell you up front that I think House of Dynamite was better for very specific reasons, but let's get into why House of Dynamite is a little better and edged out Oppenheimer, how they relate if you don't already know, and why Oppenheimer clearly was better in other ways. Cough, cough, cinematography. So why are we comparing Oppenheimer versus House of Dynamite? Well, both have to do with the nuclear triad, and both have to do with, strategic deterrence, AKA the nuclear arsenal of the United States, but also kind of global nuclear armament, and how since the creation of the atomic bomb and thereafter the hydrogen bomb, how nuclear arms have increased globally, and then they've kind of maxed out and then tapered downward and then plateaued again, generally to levels where they are right now. I guess in late 2025, one might say, are they increasing? Are global tensions increasing? Unsure. But let's talk about the two films. So first, Oppenheimer, since it came out first. Oppenheimer is a film about, well, Mr. Oppenheimer, the primary lead scientist who really led the Manhattan Project, which was the secret US code name for the creation of an atomic bomb, which of course took physicists and other type of scientists to come together, bring their expertise to create a bomb involving nuclear fission, unsure. I am not the physicist. So anywho, Dr. Oppenheimer led the team of Manhattan Project in the creation of the bomb. So it kind of chronicles that project from concept or proposition of Dr. Oppenheimer being like the US government saying, hey, could this be made into a weapon? And would you like to lead that project? And so it follows his journey of creating the atomic bomb, testing it, and then it being used near the conclusion of World War II. And then also kind of the aftermath of what became of his life following the creation, following the notoriety of being the lead scientist for a project that significant. I mean, like globally, like human existence, that kind of significant. Like it was a very significant contribution to our journey on this spinning rock, right? To what's been accomplished and our capabilities as a species. So anywho, it followed what happened after that, so you get a lot of notoriety. However, it also dove into some of his network, which was a little concerning to the US government. And so eventually things kind of got rough near the end of his life and near the end of his quote unquote career. But regardless, that was the story arc of the film. Additionally, after creating something so catastrophic, the film showcases his reticence or resistance to moving forward with the concept of a hydrogen bomb, which would be even more destructive. And so there's a tension there in which the government says, well, since we created this and the physics say that this other thing, a hydrogen bomb, would be even more capable, should we not continue on to figure out how to create that? So at least we have it in the arsenal. And then on the other side, which is where Dr. Oppenheimer was, he's kind of saying, maybe we shouldn't, because that was kind of wild, and maybe we shouldn't push it. We could just stop right here. And so that created a lot of tension. And of course, if you know history, eventually the atomic bomb moved forward to what would then be the next stage. Still, I think an atomic bomb, clearly, but the next category, it moved into the creation of a hydrogen bomb. That did take place. Hydrogen bombs do exist. It was never dropped on a particular city, but it was successfully created. And so that is the story of Oppenheimer. The positive note of Oppenheimer, even though it does not beat out the second film in this comparison, would be the cinematography is gorgeous. It makes you feel the gravity of the moment, meaning the creation of something so historic, and then also, of course, the level of destruction it's capable of causing due to this creation. So you feel the significance and the severity throughout the film, and then somehow it makes you get through like 3 hours of movie, maybe 2.5, somewhere between 2.5 and 3 hours of movie, without regretting the entire experience. Because I always say, if you're going to have a 3-hour film, you better do some movie and screenwriting and, script writing magic, because it's kind of wild. Like, it's the audacity for me. The audacity to say, I'm going to make a 3-hour film. So I think it's very important that you earn that choice to have your audience sit for 3 hours. Meaning you better let them get lost in the narrative. So that's Oppenheimer. Now let's move on to House of Dynamite. What is House of Dynamite about, and how does it relate? Has of Dynamite is a fictional film in which it's a what-if film, but acted out. So what would it be like if an ICBM was headed toward the United States, and given the current protocols in place for how to respond to that situation and what needs to happen in various places across the nation to deal with it, and then prepare the United States to respond in the aftermath of it presumably striking in the United States. This film says, what does that look like? Who are the players? What does it look like for some of those procedures to go into effect? And also, what are the decision points throughout the protocols that have a lot of weight and have a lot of, blowback. Bad word given the discussion, but just what are the points, where are the points in the procedures and protocols in which, let's say, the commander-in-chief has to decide how large he or she wants their response to be to someone, kind of in a way in which you can't attribute, so a non-attributable attack, meaning we don't know quite, at least in the early time after it occurs, we're not positive who did it. So non-attributable. So anywho, if we don't really know who did it, but eventually we might, but regardless, some would say there's an expectation of response or a retaliatory response following a nuclear strike. The commander-in-chief, it is their responsibility to make that decision. And of course they have options. So how large of a response do they want? Small, medium, large. If you watch the film, you will kind of understand more of that, and or if you already knew most of this, you will enjoy something new because you get to see it. It's one thing to study it, but it's another thing to see it acted out in a film. So why was House of Dynamite incredible? House of Dynamite was crazy good because it was so intense. I mean, obviously the subject matter is intense, but furthermore, like, it's one thing to be talking about serious things, and it's another thing when you're crafting a film and crafting what dialogue goes into that film and crafting how realistic you want the film to be. It's one thing to do that so well that the audience feels intense. So I've seen it 2 times, maybe 3 times, definitely 2 times. And I felt like physiological anxiety while watching the film. And that means they accomplished something special in which you are starting to feel the gravity of the choices you would have to make if you were in any of the persons in the film's like shoes. Does that make sense? So if you were the deputy NSA chair, what would that feel like trying to convince your boss or your boss's boss to do something, not do something, to show restraint, to not show restraint, to negotiate on your country's behalf, even though you are in a dearth of information, meaning you don't have all the answers, you don't see the full picture, but you still have to negotiate to get to the output or result that you think is right for yourself, for your family, for your country, for the world. Do you see the gravity of this? So, if you only were going to give one of these 2 films a watch, I would highly recommend it be House of Dynamite, because it helps, shine light on how scary ICBMs and also just the nuclear topic is, because every time the film resets because the film is structured in, I think, 3 or 4 retellings of the same 20 minutes. Just different people in the government walking through that 20-minute window of detecting a launch to the launch presumably landing somewhere in the United States. So yeah, you feel the same anxiety over and over because the movie resets the 20-minute clock probably 3 or 4 times. And again, it's really nice for, you know, a layman or a person not informed on these type of things to see how tight of a window everything can change and how much thought has gone into the procedures and the planning on how to respond if it does take place and how to move quickly in that 20-minute window. It's just very, very intense. So, last thing to mention, a lot of it was quite realistic, I think, because what I've seen just like moving around, what I've seen on some of the places where I work, what I've seen or at least heard about talking to some of my just colleagues in the military, when I was watching this film, I was like, this feels really researched. Like the jargon between the different people in the Air Force, that felt real. Clearly the uniforms were right. Where the bases were, I was like, I didn't really look it up, but I was like, okay, this feels where they probably are. The different like control rooms, I was like, y'all, someone did their homework and checked it twice. So that's all I'll say. Just know, I'm pretty sure House of Dynamite had some consultants, had some people who know what they were talking about, because it just felt too accurate to me as someone in the military. I was like, this feels extremely close to home. It just feels too close to home. So I would say watch House of Dynamite because I just find it informative for everyone not in the military. Because I was like, oh, this feels like if I was on any of these teams in any of these rooms, a part of this specific protocol procedure, I feel like it would look something like this, most likely. So yeah, watch House of Dynamite just to understand a bit more about nuclear triad, et cetera. And then watch Oppenheimer if you would like to understand kind of the origin of the atomic bomb and the Dr. Oppenheimer, who led that effort. Thank you so much for watching this review with me. I hope you're well. I look forward to speaking to you again in the future. If you want to see more of my face, you can find me on Instagram at Michael A. Inman _. Until next time, bye.